Topeka Tush and the BBL. Let's know the difference. The Topeka Tush is like a rising cosmetic surgery trend, also being called the Midwest BBL. Well, it is the same as the Brazilian butt lift or the BBL. Here also we are injecting fat which is taken from other areas of the body and is being used to create a better buttock shape. However, in the Topeka Tush, we are giving a more understated approach and it's all about harmony. We are focusing on the shape and the size of the buttock, but not an exaggerated size and volume like in a BBL. Patient who has a slight deformity and dips in the hip region, we call it a hip dip deformity. She has good amount of volume in her buttock area and a little bit of stubborn fat around the waistline. So her main focus was to not provide too much of volume in the middle portion of the buttock, however to treat the hip dip deformity and also to contour the overall body shape. So what I have done here is I have done a 360 degrees liposuction of the entire back, created a narrow waistline, at the same time injected fat into the hip dip deformities, and you can see how well these hip dips have been corrected and you can see a smooth S contour, a smooth waistline. I have not put too much of fat into the central portion of a buttock, but just a minute amount in order to correct a little bit of cellulite. So this is something like what we call a Topeka Tush. Talking about a BBL, the Brazilian butt lift, is also fat injection into the buttock. So let's have a look at this patient whose main intention was to give more volume and added projection in the central area of the buttock. She also was looking for an overall smooth and narrow waistline. Of course, I have done a liposuction 360 degrees, created a new narrow cinched waistline, liposuction of the whole back, but here I have added much more volume into the central projecting area of the buttock to give her an very exaggerated response. Now this is a Brazilian butt lift where we are looking at adding more volume, and it's all about giving volume along with the shape, of course. Well, in a Topeka Tush seems to be now the new beauty trend where everyone wants more subtle results. Well, it could be called the Midwest BBL, but I think this is already really popular in India. And in my experience, most of our Indian ethnic patients do not want exaggerated volume on the buttock, but majority of them want that subtle enlargement of the buttock, but also want improvement in the shape, in the symmetry, and at the same time make it look subtle and harmonized with the rest of the body. So in most of my patients that I treat, I like to add volume in certain areas of the buttock, which overall will give them more amount of good shape rather than just an exaggerated volume. So Topeka Tush and BBL, they are the same. It's fat injection into the buttock. A Topeka Tush is a more subtle response and more about shaping, whereas a BBL is more an exaggerated response and it's more about adding volume.